All right, so tonight we're going to be talking about Charlie Kirk, and I want to start off the class with a really good. It's already pushing 2 million views right now. JD Vance just did a tribute to him just a few hours ago that I was watching. I was very choked up when I saw this, and I want to lead off with this. Also have a code on him, another one actually.
We're talking to so many voters that know it is time for change. They know that something is wrong. America's future is a series of choices. Our current state of slow motion national decline is a choice. Today is our 2-year-old's birthday. And I look at my daughter, and that is my why. For those that are parents, you know exactly what I mean. There is no mountain stand as far as you're faithful. There is no river that runs wide as your goodness.
Shirley, I remember when we were starting these out, and it was that like that. It was like this. It was like your average
First 3 rows.
It was like your average political meeting where there's like 12 people in a room, and this is awesome.
This, in my personal opinion, was the most over-the-top Trump event that I've ever covered.
This is the #1 boots on the ground operation in the country. We're working directly in harmony with the Trump campaign. It's been vetted, it's been cleared, it's been blessed, as you can see there. And we're going to try to win this thing. No guarantees. It's what we do that matters. Mr. President, I can tell you this room is 100% with you, and we have your back. God bless you. Thank you. You know, we are heading on campus here momentarily at the University of South Florida, throwing it down with the students. It's going to be a lot of fun. We are excited to continue this cultural movement that we have started at Turning Point USA. More high school chapters, more college chapters, and disagreement is not just welcome, it is invited. We want to have those tough conversations. That's what it's all about. Because you're not supposed to be involved in this. You're supposed to just kind of be on the vote for me every 4 years, give me more political power, and stay out of my business. And what has happened is we are seeing an explosion in citizen participation. Knock on that extra door, go that extra mile, talk to that extra friend. Because throughout voting month and culminating on the 5th of November, I believe it will go down as a day that people remember, as a day that is written about in history books, as the final battle from the golden escalator on down, from defeating Hillary Clinton, from the nonsense of 2020, from Butler, Pennsylvania, November 5th, it all culminates where we restore the promise that the founders gave us. And they said, hey, if the people want it, the people get it. And we, the people, take back America. God bless Arizona, and thank you so much. Every day, the American people demand certain accomplishments and victories. Disagreement is what keeps a movement alive, keeps a movement fun. Here in this country, we are a country of flourishing. We're a country of risk taking. We're a country of building. We will achieve. American greatness, and we are just getting started. Oh, mercy, oh.
And then, of course, Vice President Vance speaks. This was posted on Charlie Kirk's channel just a couple hours ago, almost 2,000 views, 8 hours ago, actually. And JD Vance did a good job honoring this brother. So I wanted to kind of take time to you guys, I don't know if you understand the ramifications of what we just witnessed with this. This is on par with the assassination of JFK. Of course, I wasn't around then. Martin Luther King, his brother Bobby Kennedy, in the 60s. This is on par with that, even more so impactful with the fact that the whole world saw it in high definition with the internet. Okay, so this has affected a lot of people, myself included. And one of the things that have bothered me most about this, alone from the fact that a wife is now a widow and children are now fatherless, is the people who are just showing their true colors. And I gotta say, let me just say this. Had any other influencer been murdered in such a way, let's say Jeffree Star, who is a transgender or a transvestite, cross-dressing homosexual, or any influencer like that, I would still feel the same way. It would be no different. I wouldn't be celebrating a human being's life cut short. That just would be so far from me. Even if I had an opinion, I wouldn't voice that opinion publicly on social media for everybody to see, risk my job, all those kind of things that we see going on now, which is disgusting. I wouldn't be doing that. It's just me personally. Now, if we had seen, let's say we're talking about Hitler or Stalin or Mussolini or something like that. That might be something that we celebrate when we're talking about a monster, somebody that's murdered millions of people, something like that. Even still, I'd be looking over my shoulder to see what Jesus was doing, right? But for a person who has never, ever hurt someone other than with his words, I mean, and we're talking about debate, not harsh, malicious rhetoric and hateful words. That's not what Charlie Kirk was about, you guys. I've watched a lot of videos on Charlie Kirk, and never once did I see him attacking anybody or anything. He stood his ground on values, but never, ever did I ever see him attacking someone. Matter of fact, I've seen a lot of grace, especially when there was a transgender or someone of that culture standing before him and engaging with him. When they were respectful, Charlie engaged him in an appropriate way. Even when they weren't respectful, he didn't lash out to them and cut them down and get down on their level. No, he didn't do that. He was open to speaking with them, right? So nobody deserves this kind of thing. I did do some more, you guys. When I was walking to my car, or I'm in an elevator, or just walking around a grocery store, I'm kind of looking at my phone and looking at clips and different things, kind of preparing for this class and for this presentation, and just general, it's a topic that I'm drawn to right now. I watched a lot of videos, so I want to share just a couple of things like this one this thing this post here that I saw. Hold on, I didn't know there was sound with it. It's actually somebody wrote this, and I'm going to read this because it spoke to me. And it says the reason that you feel Charlie's death so deeply is because grief doesn't measure itself by proximity. It measures itself by meaning. You didn't have to know him personally to feel the sting of his absence, because when a voice like his goes silent, something in the atmosphere shifts. The reason it feels heavier, because I've been feeling that. I've been feeling this heaviness in my spirit since this has happened. The reason it feels heavier than so many tragedies is because your spirit recognized that this is not just about a man. This is about a battle. Scripture says that eternity is written in our hearts. And when someone who carried truth with boldness is suddenly gone, eternity aches within us. It's like our souls know instinctively that the darkness celebrated, and that strikes us to the core. The reason you can't shake it is because psychologically we don't only attach ourselves to people, we attach ourselves to symbols. Charlie became a symbol of conviction in a time of compromise, courage in a time of fear. And when a symbol is struck down, it rattles something primal and eternal inside of us. And I 100% agree with that. It just, I've never lost a son before, but I have lost a brother. And when this happened, though I didn't know him personally, it felt like I had lost a brother. It just hurt. It hurt me. And not just because I'd seen it when it happened. It's just what he stood for and who he was. Like I said, I've received death threats from this guy I'm about to show you in just a little bit. I didn't take it serious, but maybe I should, because there are crazy people out there that don't like when people speak the truth. They don't like it. And something in them wants to rage out and to harm somebody. And I got to say, I've been angry and I've been mad at people who've done me wrong, who've done things to me. And I might have said things that I probably shouldn't have said, but not one time have I ever considered doing something, taking somebody's life. It just wouldn't cross my mind to do that. Yet this guy, apparently, if we're to believe the narrative, and I find it really crazy that the topic, that this is what sparks my spidey senses, that the person that was asking a question is talking about transgender violence, and then somebody who supposedly is in a homosexual relationship with a transgender supposedly shot Charlie with a 30-06. And I don't know if you know anything about ballistics or weapons. And I don't claim to be an expert, but I have had military training in the Marines. And I know enough to know that if this man was shot in the neck with a 30-06, it seems like there would be more trauma. Maybe, I'm speculating here, maybe there was some kind of anomaly and maybe a bullet was lodged in his spinal cord or something. But one would expect a Marine, a soldier in the Army, somebody who's had experience in firing weapons, or even a hunter who has killed a deer or an elk, understands kinetic energy and what a 30-06 round would do to that little bit of mass. That little bit of mass, you guys, there have been snipers that have removed the head of a person, shooting them in the neck. I mean, that has happened, but yet we saw that the injury was significantly different. To me, it seemed like the round was significantly smaller, maybe a 223 type of round. John F. Kennedy, it's been confirmed from James Files, was shot with a 223 Hornet from a Remington Fireball. That's a deadly round at short range, but at 200 yards, 30-06, that's close. You would expect a lot of kinetic force, a lot of trauma from that round. And yet we saw what we saw. That stands out to me. That's just one thing. There's so many others. Like, why wasn't there some kind of drone or something in the air for security, or even metal detectors? There was no security in that fact. There was security, but nothing on that kind of level. And the fact that there was death threats, constantly death threats. Charlie even said on one of his podcasts that he had been constantly threatened. I've been threatened like 3 or 4 or 5 times at the most in 16 years on YouTube. And most of the time, it just goes out of one ear and out the other. There was one time I went to a conference in Rockville, Illinois, where I had a bodyguard, somebody that volunteered. He was state police in Michigan and volunteered. He was a subscriber, volunteered to go with me. He could carry firearms across state lines on airplanes and things like that. He was armed and was with me like this that whole conference because some Muslim said that he was going to come and kill me. And obviously that didn't happen, but just last year, some knucklehead who, for one reason or another, matter of fact, they used to be an ally of mine, told the world that God had said that he was supposed to, him and the other guy were supposed to kill me in Hawaii. Now, I didn't make this public. I didn't make a big deal about it. I did record the video and save it just in case something happened. But I didn't make a big deal for one reason. I got a mother that watches my videos. I don't want her to worry about stuff like that. But people that are on YouTube and TikTok and other places are under threat constantly because there's always some crazy person that does not like what you're saying or what you're doing. Maybe there's jealousy. Who knows what it is? There's always someone. Charlie was a bigger target because he was a strong Trump supporter, and the gravity of what he was doing just made him a bigger target. What I do is a niche, right? I just offend certain kinds of people. Just not as large of a crowd as he did. Anyway, I had been watching a lot of clips about Charlie. One, I wish, South Park, for one. Let me just talk about this for a moment. South Park did a spoof on Charlie several weeks ago that I thought was amazing, and he even commented about it. He himself liked it. It was funny. And I'm not a regular person that watches South Park. I watched it when I was younger, but I've recently come back to it, and I thought it was hilarious. South Park took down that video because they wanted to be respectful. I understand that why they did that. I personally wish that they would put it back up to honor Charlie because he liked it. He liked that episode because of the spoof, and I'm going to show you that in just a moment. I think they should honor him by keeping it up because it's an expression of who he was, and there's some comedy there. What he did, the engagements that he had, sometimes were very funny. And that's what South Park was doing there. So I want to just share that before we go to the code that I got for you. I want to just share this. Now, there were several that I was going to share with you guys. Some very, very moving. Like there was a eyewitness that was within 20 feet, and I think I was watching his live stream when it all happened, and he did like a video a day later where he's talking about what that did to him. And my heart went out to him because I felt his trauma. I could feel it, and I could see the hurt and the pain in his eyes. And he was there as a supporter, not as somebody against Charlie or anything like that. And it was very tough for him. Anyway, this is a South Park episode, just a clip.
Yeah. Down the mic in between the question. That is pure art, South Park.
Man, I can't believe it's going to mess up.
There is no question. You know, a woman is a lady thing in your foot. Oh, who's your person? You mean you can't answer the question, but something is male? Or
Don't you just love technology?
true. That's
Anyway, it was a hilarious episode. I wish they wouldn't have took it down. But again, like I understand why they did, to be respectful, but he himself didn't see anything disrespectful from it, and actually liked it. So I'm just catching up with some of your comments there. All right, so let me show you what I found. What's really interesting about this table is very similar to Donald Trump or, Yitzhak Rabin. Had anybody looked at this, it would have been really, really obvious what was going on here. Just very similar to Donald Trump's table. I had looked at that. The rabbis look, and I don't take credit for it, but it was published 6 years before someone tried to kill Trump that it was possible. So that means for 6 years, people were praying for Trump. Okay. Had we done that with Charlie Kirk and seen what we see here, maybe, I don't know, the fervent prayer of a righteous person availeth much. I don't know. I'm just noting the differences here that we knew ahead of time. I had never been led to look for Charlie's name. But if you look for Charlie Kirk's name and go to this access term, you can see that there is a 3-letter extension there. So it's Charlie Kirk is shot as an access term, right? We can find the word Orem and Utah right there together. We can also find he was shot or he is shot. We can also find rifle in this matrix. The word assassinated is down here in the black, assassinated. We can also find son of light, the Ben Ora, son of light. And I happen to hear Donald Trump talking about his brother. And I heard several of his closest friends always refer to him as my brother, Charlie. But also one of the good ones. Donald Trump said on a Fox interview, excuse me, it was Eric Trump that said on a Fox interview, he was one of the good ones, and the good ones is connected to son of light in this table. Also, vertical, right next to his name, we can find my brother is shot. That same 3 letters, Ira. So we got Achi or Achi, my brother is shot. We also have got shooter, vertical, right next to it. Same word right here. Okay, which is a version of this word. Okay. Vertical right next to his name. Yah's name is also vertical in this, other than a spiritual significance. I thought it was interesting that I could find the Father's name also vertical in this. Also, this anomaly here and also here, which we're going to read this section of verse here. This is just an abacus effect. It's not even there in the plain text as I'm going to read it, but it says, "Behold my son." Now, if you recall the last Charlie Kirk, or the other Charlie Kirk table that I did, on either side of his name, it had martyr. Behold my son is on either side of his name here. Now, I got two marks here. We're going to go read what is here. This is Psalms, and by the way, this is found toward the end down in the prophets, like Joshua. Joshua is right there, and then if we go a little bit further, that's Samuel, First Kings, and by here we're in Isaiah by midpoint, Jeremiah, Ezekiel, Psalms, and then we go into Proverbs, Job, Nehemiah. I want to go to this section right here and show you what it says right here. And I want you to think about what it says here. This is what I mean by a lot of times plain text in context with the access term. We're not talking about the context of the verse itself, the access term and what we witnessed. I want you to think about this, okay? So here is where we're going to go here. This is in 2 Samuel chapter 13, verse 36. It is a portion. Look what it says here. 13:36. And it came to pass as soon as he made an end of speaking. Right here. And it came to pass when he made an end of speaking, what? He was shot. See how it comes at a 90-degree angle? The proximity here. This is very similar to the Yitzhak Rabin table, which was his name, and then right across his name, or in close proximity, and it said assassin will assassinate, right? It's very similar. We got proximity. This is what I mean by plain text. If you look at your codes, there's always going to be plain text scriptures that are going to have a context to the access term that you're looking at. Let's scroll them down. I want to take you down to, I think, some really beautiful scriptures. This is Psalm 27. And I want to read this. And now, Yah put this in his table. Yah is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? Yah is the strength of my life. Whom shall I be afraid? Whom, even if you got a gun, whom shall I be afraid? When the wicked, even mine enemies and my foes, came upon me to eat up my flesh, they stumbled and fell. Though a host encamp against me, my heart shall not fear. Though war shall rise against me, I will be confident. One thing I desire of Yah, that I will seek after, that I may dwell in the house of Yah all of the days of my life, to behold the beauty of Yah, and to inquire of his temple. For in a time of trouble he shall hide me in his pavilion, in a secret place of his tabernacle he shall hide me, and he shall set me upon a rock. And now shall my head be lifted up above my enemies round about me. Therefore I will offer in his tabernacle sacrifices of joy, and I will sing, yea, I will sing praises unto Yah. Hear, O Yah, when I cry with my voice. Have mercy also upon me and answer me. And when thou seekest my face, my heart said unto thee, thy face, Yah, will I seek. Hide not thy face far from me. Put not thy servant away in anger. Thou hast been my help. Leave me not, neither forsake me, O God of my salvation. And when my father and my mother forsake me, then you Yahuwah will take me up. Teach me thy ways, O Yah, and lead me in the plain path, because it is because of mine enemies. Deliver me not over, deliver not over unto the will of mine enemies, or false witnesses that are risen up against me, and such as breathe out cruelty. I had fainted unless I had believed to see the goodness of Yah in the land of the living. Wait on Yah, be of good courage, and he shall strengthen thine heart. Wait, I say, on Yah. So that is Psalm 27. The very next one is Psalm 92. And 91 is right around the corner, you guys, because we're starting at the very beginning of 92 right here. So let's read that. It is a good thing to give thanks unto Yah, to sing his praises unto thy name, O Most High, to show forth thy loving kindness in the morning, and thy faithfulness every night, upon an instrument of 10 strings, upon a psaltery, upon the harp, and a solemn sound. For thou, O Yah, hast made glad through thy work, and I will triumph in the works of thy hands. O Yah, how great are thy works, and thy thoughts are very deep. A brutish man knoweth not, neither doth a fool understand this. When the wicked spring as the grass, and when the workers of iniquity do flourish, it is that they shall be destroyed forever. But thou, O Yah, art most high forevermore. For lo, thine enemies, O Yah, for lo, thine enemies shall perish, and all the workers of iniquity shall be scattered. But my horn shalt thou exalt like the horn of a unicorn, and thou shalt be anointed with fresh oil. Interesting that it talks about I shall be anointed with fresh oil. Look right next to, I didn't highlight this because I didn't know if it meant anything, but look, Shemini. Shemin is oil, but Shemini is my oil, right? Which would be Yah's oil. I shall be anointed with fresh oil. And we got Shemini right next to his name. My eyes shall also see my desire, and on mine enemies, and mine ears shall hear my desire of the wicked that rise up against me. The righteous shall flourish like a palm tree. He shall grow up like a cedar in Lebanon. Those that be planted in the house of Yah shall flourish in the courts of our God. Right. So Psalm 92, like I said, right there. Very next line is Proverbs. It's in a place that's pretty typical that I've seen, and I've done a lot, you guys. I've done a lot of personal codes. This is very typical of believers. I tend to see them a little further down in the text, more toward Psalms and Proverbs, things like that. This is very typical of that. I had a friend named J.D. Hopwood that died several years ago, right at the beginning of COVID. I'd never got a chance while he was living to search his name. I had too much going on, and it was just something I couldn't get to. And when he died, I went and searched his name, and it just so happened all the verses that he'd loved, and he loved Psalms, his name was right in the middle of that. And so I wish I could have done that for him before he passed away. And this is why I asked some of you when I'm doing personal codes for you, what is your favorite verse? Because many times you're going to see that in your table. It's going to have some impact and reflection on your table there. I don't know if these verses were important to him. I don't know. There's still several chapters and verses that I need to look at in this, and his name is encoded a couple of times. This is the one I chose to do, and there's no question to me, you guys. Y'all had a plan for this man's life. He wasn't caught off guard that he was killed the way he was. God had a plan, And I think he's going to use this as a spark to ignite the young people in America, even those that are not young people. I'm not particularly young, but it affected me. Had he not been cut down, I think he would have ran for president at some point. That being said, he still is an inspiration to a lot of people. What he stood for, the values, is legendary. I mean, this would be part of his legacy, you guys. You know, I don't know why y'all allowed this to happen, but he did. This could have happened to President Trump, you guys. We could have saw this 1 year ago at the election of Trump, or when all that happened, and y'all spared him. So how do we measure that? You know, y'all spares Trump, but Charlie Kirk is killed in front of everybody. You know, we can't blame God. We can't say, why did this happen? You know, it is what it is. Yah allows things for his purpose. Okay, and I think he had not only a purpose for his life, but also a purpose in the way he died and how it affected people. Tragedies like this can inspire. I mean, believe it or not, it can motivate people to get off their ass and do something proactive, to be constructive, to be a contributor to society, to be an advocate for what is true and what is right. These kind of things can inspire. So don't let this man's death be for nothing. This was a special man to God, I believe, and he was a brother to us. I even feel, you know, even though I've never lost a son, I can't think of how his parents are feeling right now. I can't imagine what his parents are feeling. I know what it's like to lose a brother and to lose a dad and things like that, but not a son, and that's horrible. I've lost a father. It's horrible. It's painful. You can't get that time back. You know, 31 years old, two very small kids and a wife. This is going to be a long journey for them, and probably very painful. So we should always be praying for this woman and her children, lifting his family up constantly, you guys. So that's what I got on Charlie Kirk right now. I do have another one that I'm working on. I could not find this supposedly this shooter's name in this table. Now, I'm not saying that he's not the shooter. I just have not been able to find his name in there. I could find his first name, but not his last name. And maybe it's in another table with Charlie, but you would think that it would be there. It's not. And then taking into consideration, now that's just one, taking into consideration all the other things that seem weird about this, you know, I'm thinking back to JFK and, you know, Lee Harvey Oswald and what we learned later, many years later, maybe 50 years later, that it wasn't him all along. It was a conspiracy, right? I think it's really convenient that a homosexual lover of a trans person is supposedly the shooter the very moment someone's asking a question about trans violence. I mean, it's almost like somebody wanted you to be pissed off at trans people kind of for this, right? But what if that's not what's really going on? What if that's just you know, everything is a performance, right? What if they want us to believe that? Again, I'm speculating here. It is so early in this whole thing that you know we're still fighting the fog of war, so to speak. Of something I learned in the Marine Corps. Anytime you had, you know, chaos and fighting and guns going off, things blowing up, there's a level of confusion in that moment where you can't figure out, or it's hard to figure out what exactly is going on. Where's it coming from? Who's the bad guy? Fog of war. Your brain is so overloaded with things and what you have seen and what you're hearing and what you're smelling that you can't really decipher what exactly is going on. Your first thinking is, oh, is this fireworks? Is this a movie? Is this fake? Right? So seconds are going by where you in this fog. Well, that remains to be a thing even after everything kind of dies down. There's still fog. Even things that are introduced to the scenario from people on the internet that are just freaking weird and crazy and they want to get views, that they start doing conspiracy shit. And they start saying, oh, well, it was this and that, or Charlie Kirk was a Mason, and or the Vatican did this. You know, you start hearing all the crazy stuff, right? Let's not forget what the facts are. This man was killed in front of the whole world. His wife is now a widow, and his children have no father. All the other stuff we'll figure out later, but let's not forget the facts. All right. I've already started seeing people talking about, oh, it was AI or it was CGI. He wasn't really killed. It was a fake body in the casket, right? You guys, we got to weed through all this crazy nonsense and stick with the facts. This was an innocent person, and I don't care who it was. Like I said, this could have been Jeffree Star or any other controversial influencer on the left. And I'm making a point here. I would still feel the same about another human being that I didn't agree with, maybe, if they were murdered. So this sets us apart from what we are seeing from apparently the left side. Atrocious crap. People losing their careers now from things that they're saying on the pub. Listen, you got free speech. That is correct. But there are consequences. So be careful. Hold your tongue if you value your job. I'm speaking to the left there. A lot of bizarre things being said. And again, I'm so disgusted by that. It's very hard to contain my anger in some of the stuff I'm seeing. So again, I'm just kind of venting here with some of I want to show you this before I forget. This is the guy that threatened me last year. Now, he said some really bizarre stuff. I'm only going to pick on him because I know him personally. And the stuff that he said, just stupid. First of all, this guy believes in something called once saved, always saved. And the reason he got mad at me, because he once supported me, is because I went from preacher of rapture to showing you guys that there was not a preacher of rapture. Okay. So in my research, I made it a adjustment to my bearing in my journey. Now, if it's true that once saved, always saved, it should not make a shit what I believe when it comes to the rapture. I still should be saved, right? According to that logic, once saved, always saved. And this is not my first rodeo with this. My uncle, who kicked me out of his church, who had a homosexual son, believed this same thing. Once saved, always saved. My cousin, just got saved when he was 12, 18. He's out of the closet. Once saved, always saved, right? It's nonsense. The logic here blows my mind. This is what he said about Charlie Kirk. Again, this is the same guy that made a death threat against me.
Good evening, everybody. Charlie Kirk's in hell. Charlie James Kirk. Charles James Kirk. Named after, Star Trek's Kirk, Aliens. Charlie Kirk is burning in hell right now. God was so angry with this guy, livid. This guy, he grew up in Chicago.
This is a Christian. This is not a left, somebody from the left This is a Christian. I'm so disgusted with you, Johnny Boy Watkins. You're supposed to be a Christian?
Free Christian school who doesn't believe in once saved, always saved.
Who doesn't believe once saved, always. That's his thing. If you don't believe once saved, always saved, then you're a demon. You're in hell burning right now.
They leave it open. And they say, because we have Calvinists who are here and we have Arminians who are here. And never one time did you hear Charlie Kirk say or believe in once saved, always saved, saved. Now, he married a Catholic. You'll hear him praising Mary. You'll hear him praising one of my favorite preachers, independent Baptist.
Actually, there's no video. I don't find any videos of Charlie praising Mary at all. Charlie was a Protestant. His wife is a Catholic, but there was no conflict of interest there. Okay.
Spirit led most of the time. His weakness, his Achilles heel, is USA. And he changed his entire sermon tonight to preach on the glories and the godliness of this guy who God says he's in hell, and God's mad and angry and livid with him right now. God did this. God had this fool put down. He is the sign for America going down. He's the sign for Sean going down 3.5 years later. And
all right, so let me just say this. This guy he's talking about, Sean, because you're my students and I need to inform you. I've known about this guy for years. I've seen some of his codes. I called him out. It's a bunch of gibberish. But this guy has got Johnny Boy Watkins and a handful of others, and that's all it is a handful, okay? Because they don't understand Hebrew, they can't read it, and he don't publish his tables, by the way. And when he does, he doesn't want somebody who can read the letters and understand the Hebrew to see what he does, because we will call his bull crap out, Sean, okay? This guy thinks, matter of fact, they believe that they're the Moses and Elijah. Okay, just let me just kind of put that out there. They think they're the two witnesses. All right. And this is the kind of crap that comes from his channels. You never see his tables. Never. Sean, you never produce a daggum thing for anybody to peer review. It's all this declaration. It's almost like somebody else I know. You like to declare things. Nobody gets to see your codes except this yo-yo comes out there and tells everybody what you have found. I'm a little concerned about that, because neither one of you know what you're talking about. And this kind of stuff comes from this channel. And this is not the first time. When Rob Skibo died, tragically, you did the same damn thing. You said he was in hell, burning in hell. You said the same thing about me, that Sean was going to go to Hawaii and the Bible code said he was going to kill me and I was going to burn in hell. You guys need to check yourself. There's something wrong with you. I can't believe you call yourself a Christian. And you put stuff out like that. Okay, I'm done with the rant there. You guys, to my students, I want to apologize for that. But that had to be said. I've been holding my tongue for a long time on this guy. Like I said, 1 year ago, when I was in Hawaii, still, this guy, I got the video recorded, made a death threat, and said they found codes that Sean was supposed to come to Hawaii and kill me. Some of you saw that and saw me talking about it in Discord. I didn't publish it everywhere and want to talk about it because I didn't want to give the guy no press. But I can't contain myself now. Yeah, I shared it in Discord. And I still got it on YouTube. It's on private, but I got it. The guy is unglued, unhinged, and out of his mind. And anybody following him on YouTube, and by the way, I love the fact that you don't turn your comments on. Why is that? Why don't you have your comment? You don't want nobody calling you out your crap? Just want to declare crap. Well, I'm calling you out. You're full of it. Your codes are bullshit. And you're deceiving people. Both of you are going to hell. You want to say people are going to hell? I think both of you are going to hell. It's ironic that you say stuff like you do. Rob Skiba's in hell. How you know? How do you know Rob Skiba's in hell? How you know Charlie Kirk is in hell? How you know God is mad at them? You talking to God every day? You full of it. You should be ashamed of yourself. Okay, I'm sorry. That's it. That's all. So I'm hoping and praying that I can get over this really, really quickly, you guys, because I'm walking around the grocery store, or I'm in an elevator, or walking to my car. My phone is glued to me. I'm looking at, and I'm grieving in this whole thing. And I didn't choose this, you guys. I didn't choose to be grieved. I didn't know I would be grieving. Right? I had plans to be doing other things, planning for TheCode and all those that are coming up, the Comet that's coming up, my school, my website, all these other things I need to be focused on. And yet I'm focused on them for several days and I can't help it because it's affected me so much. Death always seems to affect me. When my brother was killed on a motorcycle, it affected me. It changed my life. I held the hand of a woman named Patricia Kelly when she got in a car accident. I was the first one there. But I saw the thing happen. And all I could do was hold her hand while she's looking at me in my face. And I know she's dying. She's taking her last breath. All I could do was say, help her, Jesus. Please help her, Jesus. I didn't know this woman. She was a stranger to me. But let me tell you something. Being with a person when they're dying, they're taking a last breath. I could not shake that image from me for months and months and months. I thought about this woman and her children. Right? So it has a way of doing this to me. You know, anytime I lose somebody, we all lost somebody. He wasn't like a close friend to me. Like I said, I've followed him in his social media. I watched his podcast and stuff like that. It was somebody I enjoyed listening to because of the wisdom, and his persona was just attractive. He radiated Christianity. It was like his aura. And so I was attracted to that. And to see that cut down, it did something to me. It took the breath out of me. It was like I lost a member of my family. And so I've been focused on that this week, you guys. And like I said, I'm hoping this is going to pass. Because I don't like it. I don't like grieving like this. There's been a couple times where I had to go off by myself and just cry, you guys, and just weep for somebody I've never met, just weeping for this son, this brother, this husband and father I've never met before. And then to see people who have something to say that's horrible. It gets under my skin and I can't take it. And so I apologize for venting on you guys, but I just couldn't help it there. So I want to move on now before we get too late. Leanna, do you want to share? I know it's a heck of something to follow up with, but let's shift gears here and talk about the feast for a moment. You got something on trumpets?
Yes, I do.
All right, let's look at something on trumpets. Make sure you can share here. All right, you should be able to share.
Okay, can y'all see it yet?
It's still rendering. Give it just a second. Here it is. We can see it.
Okay. This, of course, this feast is coming up next Monday or Tuesday. I think it's Monday, but it might be Tuesday. Day one of, let me read the scripture where it comes from. It comes from Leviticus chapter 23, verse 24. And it says, "Speak unto the children of Israel, saying, in the 7th month, in the 1st day of the month, shall ye have a Sabbath, a memorial of blowing trumpets, and holy convocation. You shall do no servile work therein, but you shall offer an offering made by fire unto the Lord." And then another reference, which is much longer in the book of Numbers. In the book of Numbers, it gives what kind of offering you should give, but it's really instructions to the priests. But Numbers 29, verse 1, it says, "And in the 7th month, on the 1st day of the month, you shall have a holy convocation. You shall do no servile work. It is a day of blowing the trumpets unto you." For many years, I did not do trumpets. And then my husband and I, we started following Torah, started observing the feast days. And what we did was we would just blow shofar. We didn't have our own shofar, so we just listened to tapes of shofars, and we would eat something. And but it's a joyful celebration, but it's also a warning. It's a warning cry and blow. And in the New Testament, there's a lot in Revelation about when Yeshua comes back and the trumpets and what's going to happen with the trumpets. So we would always rejoice, but it's also a warning. Now I hope you can see that right here in the middle is this is the access term. It is Yom, Yod, Wa, Mem, Teruah, Tav, Resh, Wa, Ayin, and Hay. Over here, I called it the Feast of Trumpets, but it's actually Day of Trumpets. But everybody calls it the Feast of Trumpets. And I think in Israel, all they do is go to the temple and blow the trumpets, and that's basically it. But it's very interesting because if you follow the lunar Sabbath calendar, the lunisolar calendar, we are fixing to come into the month of Tishri, which is the 7th month. And we, if I remember right, our first month was at Passover time. And so if you get your Passover right, then you get all of them right. On the calendar, it says that it's Rosh Hashanah on the 22nd, which is that's the civil new year in Israel. In other words, it's not not necessarily the holy first of the year. The scriptural first of the year, if I'm right, Jonathan, I hope I'm correct.
Mhm.
Am I?
Yeah.
Is
So,
he
the scriptural New Year is going to be at Passover time, not at trumpets. Trumpets is the 7th month, right?
Right,
So
right.
so the Jews did that. You guys, they changed a lot of things to make it more convenient. And Marty is right; it is at a Abib time, and that's going to be like March, April, when we see the comet come on the other side of the sun. That's when that is time. The time we're in now is the year's wrapping up. Not only the year's wrapping up, but the harvest season is wrapping up. That's what this season is about, the wrapping up of the harvest. And then at the end of Sukkot, just a month later, is planting time again to do the whole thing over again. So The Jews did that out of economic convenience, to make the seventh month the first, and which in entail caused confusion because they're believers now that are thinking that it's the beginning of the year. It's not. Rosh Hashanah is a
Right.
misnomer. Actually, it's not the beginning of the year for the seventh month.
But
Yeah.
one interesting thing about that is that, okay, the seventh month is Tishri. But if
Yes.
you look down here, you look down here, for years, I've been a student.
Mhm.
I had a lot of trouble with the crossover years. Is it 5785 or is it 5786? Well, from what I've concluded from my Hebrew day converter, 5786 is the first day of Tishri, first day of the seventh month. I could be wrong, and Jonathan, you would probably know, but it's still 2025 to us here on the Gregorian calendar. The
Right.
50
Yeah.
is 5786. Does that start on the seventh month? Because that's what my Hebrew converter says on my code finder program.
Really? All right. So
Yeah,
I have got a calendar here.
great.
So it does in the calendar, it does change over from 5785 to 5786 in the year, and it's at Tishri time. So on the Jewish calendar, they do change the year at that time, but technically, like I just said, that year is going to change at Passover time. So though the Jews say that it's, this, we still got like, a few months before that is the case.
Okay.
But irregardless of that, it's still spectacular fine. Really interesting that Yom Teruah, Feast of Trumpets, is the beginning of judgment. It runs for 10 days and concludes with Yom Teruah. Okay.
Right.
Your access term, I just now looked at it. If you look down at the very bottom where that shin is,
Yes.
that word there is mishpat, which is
Oh,
judgment. Judgment.
really?
Yeah. And if you look at the word right before that, it's me'olam, which is the world. So the judgment of the world.
Wow. I did
What,
not see that.
well,
Thank
you see the
you.
shin? Do you see that shin at the very bottom? That's mishpat.
Yes.
Okay, so Michelle's saying, let me see if I can edit. I want to point it out. Can you point to it with your pointer? There you go, right there. Show Michelle.
Did right
That's
here.
mishpat. Mishpat,
Really?
but alam is before that. Leolam.
Is
Leolam.
it is it running in the text?
Yeah, but I
Or
think it might be an abacus effect
okay.
that's going on there. But that's kind of typical when we're looking at access term in context. And we're talking about judgment time, and we see the word judgment where it's sitting. And that's when the books are opened up, by the way, you guys. When the last trumpet is sounded, that's when the books of judgment are opened up. At the last trumpet, right? That's what
Hmm?
you would expect to see. It's judgment that this is sitting on, right?
That is very exciting.
Yeah.
I like the feasts, and I didn't do them for many years. I was a dedicated believer, but I didn't know anything about any of this stuff till basically I met you, Jonathan, on
Oh, bless your
the
heart.
student.
Listen,
Yes,
let's just like a father and a mother adores when a child is coming to the knowledge of something. The father he adores that. When you're learning something, you're putting effort into learning something, especially his ways, his ordinances. So I think it tickles the heart of the father when you're taking baby steps and learning his ways and not rejecting it, by the way.
yes.
There are those that reject all this. Oh, that's for the Jews. No, it's not. It doesn't say the feast of the Jews. Yah says these are
No,
my feasts.
feast of Yah,
That's
the
right.
feast
So
of Yah. And
So when you embrace it, I guarantee, just like a mother and a father, when you embrace it, it's going to tickle the heart of that father or mother when that happens, right? So the fact, maybe you don't have it all, maybe we don't have it all figured out right now, right? Does that change the fact that the father is pleased? No, it doesn't. He's very
no.
pleased, and he's eager to reveal more to us when we pursue the secrets of these feasts. So we figured out that Yom Teruah is the day of the bridegroom. It's
Mm-hmm.
the wedding day.
It's
It's
exciting.
exactly. This is the day of trumpets, right? Where the last trump. So we're talking about rapture, right? Pre-trib, mid-trib, post-trib, whatever. Rapture is trumpets. It's got something to do with the blowing of the trumpets. All right. So this is a very special day. This is
Yes.
something we're going to see fulfilled, by the way, in the future. I believe personally, when we see the return of Yeshua, it's going to have something to do with trumpets. Okay. Because it's the day of the king. It's the day of the bridegroom. So the parable of the 10 virgins, right? All of that is connected to this kind of storyline. The bridegroom, the king, the day of crowning, right?
Right.
The day of crowning is not just about the crowning of our Messiah. It's when you are crowned and we're putting crowns at his feet, right? That is what that's all about. The day of crowning, the day of the wedding, the day of, I mean, there's so many names that this one feast have that indicate this is the return of the Messiah. It all points to this day. Now think
Yes.
about that. So with this day, we got 10 days of what's called the 10 days of awe, right? Where judgment is happening, concluding on a day called Yom Kippur, when the books are closed. So in Judaism, they would say at Yom Teruah, the books are opened, and at the Yom Kippur, the books are closed. For 10 days of awe, we're under judgment. Okay, that's how the book lies it out for us. Okay, so that's where we are. We're right at this season's Yom Teruah, going into the. And by the way, Yeshua's going to fulfill each one of these, just like he did the ones before. Each one of these
Yes.
are going to be fulfilled. Okay, and it has a lot to do with you. You're involved. Trumpets, Yom Teruah, Yom Kippur, and then Sukkot. You're involved in each one of this. It's not separated from you. You're not excluded. It has everything to do with you and the return of the Messiah. Because when it comes down to Sukkot, that's what we're going to be doing with him in the kingdom, you guys. We're going to be tabernacling with the Messiah in the kingdom. So these are the next feasts that are to be fulfilled by the Messiah, and that's where we are. So,
Well, I would like to continue, if it's all right. And I love every bit of that, and I'm looking forward to it. To me, this has always been a a blast to let us know our Messiah is here when he comes
amen.
back. And so what I've got over here up in the right corner is just in the plain text. It says voice of Yahuwah. And then this is the word for prepare. And then if you jump down here to the pink, this is warning. So it's a warning blast, like if war is coming or if some kind of danger is coming. A trumpet is a warning blast. And it says here, blow. It goes all the way across the code. And the shofar blast. Shofar is right here in the green, going straight through the middle of the code. Shofar blast runs across from up here to down here. Shofar blast. And we're to be joyful on that day. but it's also warning, and it's an alert, and it's a shouting day. If you don't have a shofar, you can shout. It's also called the day of shouting. Um, Up here, it says up here in the about in the middle in the blue, this is the word for appointment. And down here at the bottom, I forgot to put my green line here, but this is 5786 going all the way up here. That's for this year of Tishri, which is from the top going down. That's Tishri. This four letters here in the green is day one. Yom. Yom is in here three times, which I kind of thought was neat. Yom Aleph, which Aleph is one. The day of, I just did this. I don't know if it's proper Hebrew, but I just did Yom Shel, day of. It's a day of blowing your trumpet. And the remnant is supposed to be involved, that's us, in blowing trumpets. And of course, it's all about Yeshua. It always has been, in my opinion, about Yeshua. And I believe I got everything that's in this code told to you. And I wanted, if it's okay with you, I'd like to share something that happened. You know, sometimes we feel so scared and so alone. One day, it was all about the Feast of Shavuot. And it was like the Sabbath before Shavuot was coming, and I was talking to Yah, and I said, what if I'm wrong about this whole thing? Because I think that it's supposed to be the count 7 Sabbaths complete and then add 50 days. What if I'm wrong? And I did a code on that too, but I don't know how much time we have. I never did share it. It had a little pearl for me that the Most High put in there for me, and I shared it with two people. I think saw it in the Hebrew section of Discord.
Do you
But
have it? Do you have it? You can share that,
yeah,
sister. Yeah, pull it up.
really, yes, I do. Let me see if I can switch over.
All right, so stop share. Let me help you out. There you go.
There it is. Okay.
Very good.
This is this was Shavuot, and you were out of town. We didn't do anything else, so I had this one that I just shared. Like um, the pearl is right here in the middle, and it was for me. So I don't know if I should share it because sometimes when we share our pearls, mean people like that guy who did that code or said that code and who attacked you will take your pearl and be mean about it. But this is just the weeks. Ha Shavuot going up here, Feast of Weeks. My question to the Most High was, what if I'm wrong? What if all of us are wrong and all of the people in the world that believe that you only count 50 days and that's Pentecost and that's Shavuot and there's no adding of 50 days. And I was just talking to him about it, so I felt led to do one more code, and that was this one. And what we have here is we have the weeks. It's 7. Can you follow my cursor? Sabbaths complete. Okay. Feast, which is, the Feast of Shavuot. This was what I put in there. The forgotten calculation. And I'm like, it's in there. Then I added plus, and it was there. And then 50 days. So that was my answer to my prayer.
Mhm.
But I have this little right here. Let me see if I can go over here. This is my pearl. Before I knew to thank the Father for the answer he gave me, this was that line. And when I read it, when I found out, I went to do it in Hebrew, and it means you're welcome. And it let me know that little old me, he cares about me. Michelle, he has every hair on your head counted.
Absolutely.
Sees when a sparrow falls. He loves you, Michelle, and he is never going to let you go through anything that you cannot handle. And he loves you more than you can imagine. Each and every one of you, he loves you.
Absolutely.
And thank you for letting me share that also.
Absolutely.
Hope everybody has a happy you know, Yom Teruah, Feast of Trumpets. And thank you, Jonathan, for letting me have this place to say.
Absolutely.
Love you.
Good. I love you too. Good job, Leanna. And I'll be expounding more at Sukkot time. She wants me to teach like 2 or 3 days. I think one of those days I'm going to be teaching more on um, Shavuot, and because we're actually in a season that's concluding what was began at Shavuot time. Shavuot is the beginning of the wheat harvest. Sukkot time is the conclusion of that harvest. It lasts all summer long. Okay, and if you've been following or looking or paying attention, the farmers of the United States and other places around the world in the northern hemisphere have been harvesting grains. Corn is up next. So we just went through wheat. Corn is going to be harvested all the way to what? What's corn fake? What pagan holiday do we always see corn available? There's usually mazes. What holiday we're talking?
Halloween, unfortunately.
Halloween, right? When is Halloween? That's October, the last part of. So we're going from wheat now to corn, okay? Which is, we need to make that distinction in this, because in Deuteronomy, I think it's Deuteronomy 16:9, where it talks about when you put the sickle to the grain, we're not talking about, and it says corn there. That word means grain. It is not corn. Corn is harvested at the end of summertime. Okay. When you put your sickle to the grain, it's talking about barley. That's when we start counting for Shavuot. And I'm going to be covering that at Sukkot this year. We're going to be going into that a little more deeply, talking about Amos and his trek from Babylon with the remnant of the people, and how it took 5 months from him for him to get to Jerusalem, which should only take about 3 or 4 weeks. And by the way, the journey from Egypt to Sinai didn't even take that long, and it's further. Why did it take Amos so many months to get to Jerusalem? And it was exactly the growth cycle of wheat, folks. He left on the exact day that they plant wheat, and he arrived in Jerusalem the exact time that they're harvesting. And by the way, it is written in there, and also in Nehemiah's account, that in those days we saw Israel what? Doing what? They were treading wheat. They were making wine in the wine press, and they were doing this on the Sabbath, okay? So it outlines the whole season that I've been trying to teach you guys that is off because of interpretation, because of rabbinical error, that has been transferred and passed down to us. Okay. And it does not line up to what the Bible says. I've been trying to get you guys to see this. The growth cycle of this grain does not change. Okay. Unless we're talking about GMO, but if we're talking about biblical grains, it's pretty constant, folks. We know when the planting season is, we know when the harvest season, that never changes. We don't just wake up one year and say, you know what? I think I'm going to plant some wheat in October. Or I'm going to plant some wheat in January. It don't happen that way, folks. Every year, like clockwork. It is planted the same way and harvested the same way. That's never changed. Okay. So I'm going to be covering that even more extensively this year. And I feel compelled that I have to do this until everybody gets understanding of what I'm talking about. How God has preserved his feast days in the grains that he created. Okay, so man has done some things and done some, shifting around. It doesn't matter. We can still reconcile the exact time, the exact dates with the grain. Okay, even though man has messed it up, the grain has preserved it. Yes. Every new moon is a new moon day. That's absolutely right. Every new moon is, this word is synonymous. It's called Chodesh. You might see some things on online that say that word doesn't mean new moon. Yes, it does. It's called a synonym in grammar. And Hebrew has the same kind of grammar as we do in English. Okay. There's more than one word, one way to express a thought or an idea or something like that. There's more than one way, right? If you're talking about a new month, it's called Chodesh. It's also synonymous with new moon. Now, if you're talking about the moon as a subject, we're not talking about Chodesh. We're talking about Yerach. Yerach is what the moon is called, okay? That's when it's the subject matter. When we're talking about the changing of the month in conjunction with the moon, it's called Chodesh. So all of you YouTube and Facebook scholars, you're wrong. You're absolutely wrong. You're going into the face of what scholarship has said for 2,000 and plus years. Okay. So we're supposed to believe it's a conspiracy in the end times that some Jew somewhere in Babylon made this? No, it's not. Your argument is stupid. Okay. New month, new moon, it's the same thing. It's called a synonym. Okay. All right. So, that's all I got for you guys. Again, I'm going to expound on this more at Sukkot time. I'm going to record this. The last couple times, Passover, Sukkot, I haven't really tried to record so much because it hasn't been a really good, internet connection and that kind of thing. But I'm going to try this time to make sure I document the presentation that I do. Not just mine, but also the others that are presenting at Sukkot time. I'm not the only presenter. I'm just one of several that's going to be presenting. The rebirth of the moon phase is exactly right. It's exactly what it is. We're talking about a clock. Now, if you look at the clock in your kitchen, you got two hands, right? If we remove one of those hands and just went by one, we would probably be wrong most of the time. We can't do that. That's the same thing with, the Bible calendar and the biblical clock. We can't remove one of the hands and expect to get it right. All right. I hate that. A lot of people think that the moon and following the moon came from Babylon. You don't know your Bible. The Bible says that Yah created these things for signs and seasons. And the fact that you just completely ignore Psalm 104:19, where it says the moon determines the Moedim, tells me that there's something wrong with your processing. You're not getting it. You're completely blinded to what the Bible's saying. You're coming up with something that's completely contradicting the Bible. All right. So both the sun and the moon is our clock in the sky. Okay. Marty, do you want to say something? Yes.
Yeah. Did you see the recent YouTube on Goblik Tepe? I can't pronounce it right, but the place in Turkey. They uncovered another area that was right next to it. Anyways, they discovered when they were doing the archaeological find the lunisolar calendar. Now it's the oldest one, 12,000 to 13,000 years old.
Most cultures went by the sun and the moon both. As a matter of fact, in England, you got those stones. What are they called? Come on, God Almighty, I'm forgetting it. The
headstone.
Yes. That actually is something that documents the sun and the moon together. It documents the solstices and the four seasons. Stonehenge. That's exactly right. Stonehenge. It's a clock. It's a clock, and it uses both the sun and the moon. So ancient cultures understood that there was a heavenly clock. Has nothing to do with they were pagan or heathen. Okay. God didn't borrow something from the heathen. He presented something and the heathen took from it. Okay. That's how this works. This didn't come from Babylon. That's the argument with some of these people, especially the Qumran Dead Sea Scrolls people that believe that it's a different kind of calendar, that this came from Babylon. No, you don't know your biblical history if you believe that. It did not. Most cultures got it from Yah's creation, right? Just because, you know, Aleister Crowley uses the tetragrammaton, Yod He Vav He, in his satanic whatever, does not mean that Yah's name is satanic. Does everybody understand that? That means a Satanist took something that was holy and tried to defile it. It's the same thing. It is the same thing. All right. Yeah, Stonehenge. Headstone. I didn't hear what I thought you said it. Stonehenge. Anyway, all right.
That's what I thought, but that's what I meant.
I got your point. Anybody got anything else they want to comment on or say before we close out tonight?
Yeah,
Okay.
I just wanted to tell Leanna that I really enjoyed her table on Yom Torah, and yeah, we will be. It is. She's absolutely right. It is. It's all supposed to be a war cry too, because with Joshua and that they blew the trumpets, and the trumpets are talked about in Revelation, the blowing of the trumpets, and when with the return of Yeshua. So I really
Amen.
enjoyed her doublet.
Thank you, Leanna. See, each one of you guys inspired. Okay, when you're presenting your work, you never know who you're going to touch. So, I encourage you to keep pushing forward and enduring in this endeavor that we have got going forth. All right. So if there's nothing else, you guys, I'm going to close this out with prayer, and we will see you guys in the next class. Let me end it right here.